In the winter of 1959, deep within the frozen wilderness of the northern Ural Mountains, 9 experienced hikers vanished into the snow. Not one of them survived. And more than 60 years later, nobody can fully explain what terrified them enough to flee their tent barefoot into the darkness. This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident. February 1st, 1959. The temperature had already dropped far below freezing. Winds screamed across the mountains like something alive. Visibility was collapsing under heavy snow. But this group was not inexperienced. They were elite Soviet hikers. Young, intelligent, trained to survive conditions most people would never endure. Leading them was 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov. Their mission sounded simple: cross the mountains, reach the settlement of Vizhai, and return home. None of them knew they were walking into one of the darkest mysteries in modern history.
At first, everything seemed normal. The hikers laughed together. They took photographs, wrote journal entries, played music. In the final images recovered from their cameras, they're smiling, relaxed, alive. That's what makes what happened next so disturbing. Because somewhere out there in the endless white silence, something changed. That evening, the group set up camp on the eastern slope of a mountain known by the local Mansi people as Holat Siak. Its translation is chilling. Mountain of the Dead. The wind battered their tent through the night. Snow buried the landscape around them. And beyond the thin fabric walls, there was only darkness. Then, suddenly, something caused all 9 hikers to panic. Not ordinary fear, not discomfort, pure terror. Investigators later discovered that the hikers had cut their way out of the tent, from the inside, not through the entrance. They sliced through the fabric in desperation, as if they believed there wasn't enough time to escape normally. And then, they ran.
Into temperatures colder than minus 30 degrees Celsius. Some of them wore no shoes. Others were missing coats. One had only socks. Think about that. These were expert survivalists, people trained to handle brutal conditions. Yet somehow, they abandoned their shelter in the middle of the night, underprepared, and fled straight into a deadly blizzard. Why? What could possibly frighten experienced hikers more than the freezing cold itself? Search teams arrived weeks later. The scene they found looked impossible. The tent was half buried in snow. Their belongings remained inside. Food untouched. Boots still there. It looked as though everyone had left instantly. No signs of a struggle. No signs of another camp. Just silence. Then they discovered the first bodies. 2 hikers beneath a cedar tree near the edge of the forest. Barefoot. Frozen. Nearby were remnants of a small fire. Meaning, after fleeing the tent, they had tried to survive. They had tried to stay alive. But something had kept them away from returning to camp. Something worse than freezing to death. The next bodies were found scattered between the forest and the tent, as if they had attempted to go back, as if they realized too late that whatever they were escaping might have been less deadly than the cold itself. Then, investigators uncovered the final 4 bodies, and that's when the mystery became truly terrifying. Some of the hikers had suffered catastrophic internal injuries, crushed ribs, massive trauma, but strangely, very little external damage. One investigator reportedly compared the force to a car crash, and yet there were no signs of an attack. No footprints from strangers, no weapons, no evidence of violence around the camp. One hiker was missing her tongue. Another was missing parts of the eyes. To this day, nobody can say with certainty what caused those injuries. The Soviet investigation eventually concluded that the hikers died because of a compelling natural force. That was it. No explanation. Case closed. But the questions never stopped.
Over the decades, theories spread across the world. Some believed it was an avalanche. Others thought military experiments were taking place nearby. There were reports of strange orange lights in the sky that night. Some suspected secret weapons testing. Others whispered about infrasound, low-frequency vibrations created by the wind, capable of triggering panic and psychological terror. Then came the darker theories. Unknown creatures, hidden government operations, something stalking the mountains. Because no matter how many explanations appeared, one detail never made sense. Why did all of them run? At the same time, without proper clothing, without hesitation, as though death inside the tent seemed more immediate than death outside in the freezing wilderness. Imagine the moment. You're inside that tent. The wind is roaring outside. Everyone is exhausted. Then suddenly, someone hears something. Maybe footsteps beyond the snow. Maybe a deep vibration. Maybe something moving in the darkness. The atmosphere changes instantly. No discussion. No planning. Only fear. Knives slash through the tent walls. Freezing air rushes in. And 9 people run blindly into the night. Away from safety. Away from warmth. Away from the only shelter for miles. What did they see? What did they hear? What was so horrifying that experienced hikers chose the frozen wilderness instead?
Even today, the mountain remains unsettling. Visitors report an overwhelming silence there. No birds, no movement. Just endless snow stretching beneath a gray sky. The kind of place where every sound feels wrong. Where your own footsteps begin to feel unfamiliar. Where the dark feels alive. And somewhere beneath that frozen landscape, the truth may still be buried. In recent years, scientists attempted to solve the mystery using modern simulations. Some concluded a rare type of avalanche may have forced the hikers out. But critics point out the same problems. The slope wasn't steep enough. The tent remained partially standing, and the hikers survived long enough afterward to attempt escape and survival. Others believe panic itself became the killer, that fear spread through the group faster than reason. But fear doesn't appear from nowhere. Something triggered it. something powerful enough to override survival instinct. And maybe that's why the Dyatlov Pass incident still terrifies people today. Not because we know what happened, but because we don't. Because in the middle of one of the coldest places on Earth, 9 people encountered something they could not understand. Something that shattered logic. Something that drove them into the darkness. And whatever happened on that mountain that night ended with silence. Frozen footprints leading away from a torn tent. A fire dying beneath a cedar tree. And a mystery that refuses to disappear. Somewhere in the Ural Mountains, the wind still moves across the snow. Cold. Endless. Empty. And every winter, the mountain waits. Just as it did in 1959.